Welcome to the Risk Wheelhouse, the podcast where we navigate the ever-changing seas of risk management and technology. Join your hosts, Ori Wellington and Sam Jones, as they steer you through the latest trends, insights, and strategies shaping the future of integrated risk management. Ready to chart a course towards success? Hop aboard and let's set sail into today's deep dive.
Ever feel like you're wading through a corporate jargon jungle?
Uh-huh. I know that feeling.
Well, get ready to tackle a big one today.
Oh, this is a good one.
Integrated risk management, or, as it's more commonly known, IRM.
Catchy, right.
Right. And it's one of those topics that sounds, well, important.
Mission critical.
Exactly. Mission critical in those high-level meetings, you know the ones.
Mm-hmm.
But actually wrapping your head around it can feel like you're trying to decipher a foreign language.
It really can.
Like you walked into the wrong conference room, you know?
Yeah.
Don't worry, by the end of this deep dive, you'll be fluent. We're diving into the Buyer Persona Guide for Integrated Risk Management.
Great guide, that one.
Yeah, and we're using it to, to break down this whole world of IRM, understand the who's who, and kind of connect all the dots.
And what we're really aiming for is that aha moment.
Oh, I love those.
Right, where IRM just clicks and you see how knowing this stuff, how it can be a real superpower no matter where you sit in your organization.
Okay, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
So picture this. Imagine IRM is this high-stakes game of strategy.
Okay.
And the goal is to protect your organization from, well, everything, right?
Every angle.
Yeah. And every good game needs a clear set of rules.
Absolutely.
And that is where our Trusty Guide's IRM Navigator framework comes in.
This framework really helps because it breaks down IRM into these 4 key objectives.
Okay.
Performance, resilience, assurance, and compliance. Think of those as like the core pillars of a strong risk management strategy.
Okay, so performance, resilience, assurance, and compliance. Gotcha. What do those actually mean in practice?
So let's take assurance, for example. It's about having, real confidence that your risk management approach is actually working the way it should. Like, imagine this. You wouldn't drive a car that didn't have brakes.
True.
Assurance is like regularly checking those brakes, making sure everything's in top shape. So when you hit the road, you have that confidence.
So it's not just about, having a plan on paper. It's about knowing that that plan's actually going to hold up when things get tough.
Exactly. That's it.
And who are the main players in this whole IRM game of chess?
Well, our guide does a great job of introducing us to the whole team, from, the big bosses on the board of directors all the way down to those individual department heads.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The whole crew.
And they're not all on the same page necessarily.
Well, that's what's really interesting here. Each of these players has their own set of priorities, their own way of talking about risk.
So, even though CEO might be, let's be honest, laser focused on growth.
Neat,
right?
Yeah.
Pushing those boundaries. They're also, the guide reveals, really invested in assurance.
Which, when you think about it, makes sense.
Makes sense, right? Because ultimately the buck stops with them.
They're the ones who are accountable.
Yeah. But what I found fascinating were some of those secondary objectives that the guide points out, things you might not expect.
Right. Like, for example, a CFO, a numbers person, someone who lives and breathes spreadsheets, they actually, according to the guide, care deeply about operational risk management, or ORM.
You'd think they'd be happy just huddled away with their spreadsheets. Why does ORM matter so much to a CFO?
Because any kind of operational disruption, those have a direct impact on the bottom line. And often it's not pretty. In fact, the report actually cited a study that found the average cost of a data breach is now over $4 million. Suddenly, those operational risks aren't just, some abstract concept. They're very real threats.
Wow. $4 million. That's a powerful incentive.
It is.
To get serious about ORM. Okay, so we've got this really interesting group, each with their own motivations, their own perspective. But how do those roles actually play out in the real world of IRM? Let's start with the big one that we hear all the time, Enterprise Risk Management, or ERM. What is that?
Okay, so ERM is like taking a step back and looking at the entire risk landscape from above. It's about connecting the dots, seeing how different departments and their risks, how they all fit together. And then it's about aligning all of that, aligning your risk management with the organization's big picture goals.
So if each department is managing its own little pocket of risk, ERM is like the air traffic control.
I like that.
Making sure everybody's, playing nice and avoiding collisions.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. And usually the ones responsible for that big picture view, well, it's the board of directors.
Oh, okay.
Think of them as the kind of the guardians of the organization's, long-term vision.
Long-term, yeah.
Yeah, they're looking years ahead, not just focused on the next quarter's profits.
So they're all about assurance, making sure the ship is sailing in the right direction.
Exactly. But they're also laser focused on another one of those key objectives, on compliance.
Oh, right.
Because nothing sinks a ship faster than legal problems or ethical breaches.
Are you ready to see risk management in action? At Wheelhouse Advisors, we've launched a new YouTube channel dedicated to integrated risk management. You'll find quick explainers, insights from our IRM Navigator research reports, highlights from the Risk Journal, and conversations from the Risk Wheelhouse podcast. We're covering the topics that matter most to executives and risk leaders, from AI governance and cyber insurance to operational resilience and regulatory change. Every video is designed to help you anticipate risks, adapt with confidence, and build resilience in a digital-first world. In our first video, we explain how ISO 42001, the EU AI Act, and the NIST AI Risk Management Framework can work together as a unified playbook for AI risk. Subscribe today at youtube.com/@wheelhouseadv and get the latest insights delivered directly to you. That's youtube.com/@wheelhouseadv. Subscribe now and stay ahead of the risks that matter most.
Right?
That's true.
And that's where our friend, the CEO, comes in.
So the CEO is kind of steering the ship
Right.
with the board, acting as navigators, keeping a close eye on those assurance and compliance radars.
It's a good way to think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they need all hands on deck, right? They can't do it all themselves.
It takes a village.
Exactly. A whole team.
And that's where those secondary objectives that the guide talks about, that's where those get really interesting.
Yeah.
It says that CEOs, we talked about it, they're all about the growth, right? Pushing those limits.
Right.
But they're also, and this surprised me, really concerned about resilience.
Which, again, when you think about it, it makes sense.
It does, yeah.
Because in today's world, it's not enough to just try to avoid risks altogether.
Right, because you can't predict everything.
Exactly. You can't plan for every scenario.
Things happen.
They do.
So are we talking about having that backup plan, that plan B for when things go sideways?
It's more than just a plan, though, right?
Okay.
It's about really baking in that ability to adapt, to overcome those unexpected challenges into the very DNA of how the organization operates, how it thinks.
So it's almost like a cultural shift.
In a way.
Not just a checklist.
Exactly.
And that kind of brings us from, the strategic heights of ERM down into the, I don't know, what would you call it, the engine room?
Yeah, the engine room. Love it.
Of the operation, which is, we're talking about operational risk management, or ORM.
That's right, ORM.
So let's get into the nitty-gritty.
Yeah, let's do it.
What exactly falls under ORM?
So think about all the things that are essential for an organization to function, to, keep the lights on day to day.
Right, like the daily grind?
That's it, the daily grind. Things like your supply chains, manufacturing processes, if you're in that kind of business.
Right, customer service, keeping the people happy.
Absolutely. Customer service is huge.
Yeah.
Even internal stuff, like how teams communicate with each other, how employees are trained.
Oh, okay, so it's a lot more than I initially thought.
It's a wide lens, yeah.
So ORM is about, identifying and managing those risks that could pop up in any of those areas.
Exactly. Anything that could throw a wrench in those day-to-day activity.
No, anything from a key supplier suddenly going out of business.
Yep, that'll do it.
To, I don't know, a massive software glitch.
Oh, yeah. Those can really bring things to a halt.
Right.
And just like we talked about how the CFO, the finance guru, is really tuned in to ORM because of those financial implications.
The bottom line.
Right, the bottom line.
Well, the COO, our chief operating officer, they're the ones living and breathing this ORM stuff every day, right?
Oh, on the front lines.
Because they're the ones who have to make sure everything keeps running smoothly no matter what, right?
That's their domain.
Their primary objective, I'm guessing, is resilience.
You got it.
Makes sense.
But here's a really interesting point the guide makes. COOs, they're not just thinking about how to prevent bad things from happening. They're also looking for ways to turn those operational risks, those potential problems, into opportunities for improvement.
Interesting. So it's like, it's not just about putting out fires.
Right.
It's about studying those fires.
Right.
And figuring out how to make the building, more fire resistant next time.
Exactly. It's about learning and evolving.
Love it.
Okay, so we've talked about ERM, the big picture. We've talked about ORM, the engine room.
The day-to-day.
Right, the day-to-day.
Now let's talk about a segment that's, well, it's more important now than ever before.
Oh, yeah, this one's only growing.
In our digital world, and that's technology risk management, or TRM.
TRM, absolutely.
It's not just about those, big clunky servers in the basement anymore.
Not anymore.
Right. Technology is everywhere.
It's ubiquitous.
It really is.
And with that reliance on technology comes a whole new set of risks, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
We're talking about cybersecurity threats, data breaches, system failures, even things like, social media mishaps.
Right. It's a whole other beast.
And then there are those bigger picture questions about the ethical implications of things like artificial intelligence.
Yeah, that's a whole other deep dive.
Right. We could spend a whole session on that.
We should.
But for today, the point is, TRM is about managing all of those risks that come with our reliance on technology, from the software we use every day to the data we collect.
Right, and the devices we use to do it.
Exactly.
So is TRM basically like the cybersecurity team? Are we talking about, those folks in the movies in the dark room with the hoodies on, fighting off hackers?
It includes that, for sure, but it's much broader.
Okay.
It's about managing the risks associated with all aspects of technology, not just protecting against attacks, although that's a big part of it.
Right. So it's a more holistic approach.
Yeah.
And who's leading the charge in this digital frontier? It's the CISO, right?
Right, the Chief Information Security Officer.
The CISO, they're the ones responsible for, making sure that all the organization's data is safe and sound, away from those digital villains.
That's a big part of it, yeah, keeping everything secure.
Right.
But the guide points out that it's more than just about protection.
Okay.
CISOs are also thinking about how to use technology to make their risk management even better, more effective.
So they're not just, building higher walls. They're actually finding ways to use technology to create a more proactive defense system.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it.
So instead of just waiting for an attack to happen.
Yeah, because that's a losing battle.
It is. You can't just react all the time.
Exactly. So they're using things like, artificial intelligence, machine learning.
Okay, the big ones.
To try to anticipate those threats, right? To find those vulnerabilities before someone else can exploit them.
Okay, now that is what I call staying ahead of the game.
That's the goal.
But it's not all about, fancy technology, is it?
It isn't.
There's a human element to this whole TRM equation as well, right?
100%, yeah. Even with the best tech in the world, human error is still one of the biggest risks organizations face.
I mean, we've all been there, right? Clicked on that phishing link, accidentally downloaded the wrong thing.
It happens to the best of us.
It really does.
And that's why things like, employee training, awareness campaigns, those are still so important for TRM.
It's about empowering people to make smart decisions.
Exactly.
Because at the end of the day, technology is only as strong as the people using it, right?
Couldn't agree more.
So it feels like we're talking about a lot of moving parts here, right?
It is a lot to juggle.
Different players, each with their own, area of expertise.
For sure.
Easy to get lost in the weeds, don't you think?
It can be. Yeah, especially when you're down in the trenches,
Right, exactly.
But that's why it's so important to understand how connected all these different segments really are.
Okay, yeah, because it's not enough for, like, the CISO to be a cybersecurity whiz.
Right.
If they're not talking to the COO, right, about how a cyber attack could actually impact the day-to-day operations.
Exactly.
So it's like, I don't know, it's like what do you even call it? Like a giant game of pickup basketball.
Okay, I like where you're going with this.
Everyone needs to know where the ball is.
Yeah.
Right, and where they need to be to make sure the team actually scores.
I like that. That's a great analogy.
And to stretch that analogy maybe a bit too far.
Never too far.
GRC, governance, risk, and compliance.
Big one.
That's the playbook, right?
It is.
The set of rules that keep the game, flowing smoothly, fairly.
Exactly. That's a great way to think about it.
So we've touched on GRC, but let's break it down.
Yeah, let's do it.
What is GRC's role in all of this?
So GRC is about setting up the policies, the procedures, even just the structures, to make sure everyone's on the same page, playing by the same rules.
Okay, so it's like it's setting the standard.
It is.
Yeah.
It's about creating that culture of accountability, right?
Right.
Where everyone's being transparent, risks are identified early.
And swept under the rug.
Exactly. They're assessed honestly and managed effectively.
So we're not just talking about, like, checking boxes on a checklist
Not at all.
to avoid fines or lawsuits.
It's bigger than that.
It's about doing the right thing even when no one's watching.
Exactly. It's about building that foundation of, ethical, responsible behavior.
And the report, it highlights this really interesting point
Okay.
that GRC, it's not, it shouldn't be siloed off in some department.
Right.
Like,
Oh, that's the compliance team over there. They handle that stuff.
Yeah, it's not just a separate function.
It's got to be woven into everything the organization does.
Exactly. It should be part of the organizational DNA.
Okay, so it's less about having, like, a rule book, right?
Right.
And more about making those rules just how things are done.
It's about that cultural shift we were talking about earlier.
It all comes back around.
It does. It always does.
So we talked about the Wara and Baird and their focus on assurance.
Right.
Well, a strong GRC framework, that gives them that assurance, doesn't it?
It does. It lets them sleep at night knowing that even if something goes wrong, which it inevitably will.
Because it always does.
Exactly.
The organization has the processes, the systems in place to manage it, to recover.
They have a plan.
They've got a plan. They know what to do.
Exactly.
So it's like having those guardrails in place.
Okay, yeah.
So even if someone, maybe veers off course a little bit.
Right, they're not going to drive the whole organization off a cliff.
Exactly.
No cliffs, that's the goal.
No cliffs. Love it.
So we've covered a lot of ground here,
We really have.
and I hope it's been helpful to kind of demystify this whole world of IRM.
Absolutely. And that was really the goal today, right? To take this concept, IRM, break it down, make it make sense no matter who you are, where you sit.
And show that it's not just about corporate jargon.
Right.
It's about understanding how organizations can better manage uncertainty.
Because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, right?
It really is. Managing risk is about navigating the unknown.
And if you can do that effectively,
It can be a real game changer.
a superpower, like you said.
Exactly, a superpower.
That's a wrap on our deep dive into integrated risk management.
Great discussion.
As always, thank you so much for sharing your insights.
My pleasure. Always happy to be here.
And to our listeners, thanks for coming along for the ride. We hope you found this deep dive informative, maybe even a little bit empowering. Until next time, remember, in the world of risk, knowledge is power.
That wraps up another episode of the Risk Wheelhouse. Thank you for spending time with us at Wheelhouse Advisors today. We hope you found the conversation insightful and actionable for your organization's risk strategies. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Amazon Music. If you're looking for more in-depth analysis and thought leadership on risk technology, be sure to visit the Risk Tech Journal at therisktechjournal.com. It's your go-to source for comprehensive articles, expert interviews, and the latest trends shaping the industry. Subscribe today to stay informed. For any inquiries or feedback, please contact us directly at info@wheelhouseadvisors.com, or feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn and x.com and share your thoughts or suggestions for future topics. Visit wheelhouseadvisors.com for more information and resources. Thanks again for joining us. Until next time, navigate wisely.